and gentlemen, welcome to the American Masterminds podcast. I'm your host tonight, Topher Sheeler. I'm joined by my co-host, the one and only Mr. Rob Adams.
What up, what up?
We have, God, Rob, how freaking interesting is this guest here tonight?
She fights crime. She does all of the things. I'm so excited.
Does her own stunts.
All of her own stunts. It's amazing. I can't wait to get into this podcast and learn what it is that makes this girl tick.
We have Elora Burgess with us here tonight. Let's grab a quick word from the sponsor and we'll jump right in.
Utah homeowners, you cook with it, you drink it, heck, you even bathe in it. Don't you think it should be clean? That's right, I'm talking about your home's water. Here's the ugly truth. Your standard water softener only has one layer of filtration. It does absolutely nothing for the PFAS, chemicals, or toxins that are lurking in your water. It may feel better, but it does absolutely nothing for your health or your home's health. Our Blue Logic whole home purification system has 10 different layers of filtration to it to give you safe, clean, and clear water at every tap in your house down to the water molecule itself. Stop guessing at what that weird taste is coming from the tap in your house. Yes, there's going to be a difference. Give Blue Logic a call. Drink better and live healthier.
All right. So excited to have you on the show. Some of the reasons that I have you on the show. Number one, I was saying earlier, we became friends we had a friends event, common event, and we sat at the same table with your beautiful daughter, sassy girl. How old is she now?
Yeah, she just turned 9 a couple weeks ago.
9. That's a grown up. That's crazy cool.
She is.
Yeah, they do. I have a 7-year-old that's already asking if she can borrow the keys for my car.
It's the slingshot, but whatever.
Yeah. And you are the reason I have you on the show, or that I wanted you on the show, is because once we became friends, I of course started following you on social media, as I often do when I meet people that I think are fascinating, and you are doing some crazy cool stuff. And I want to talk about some of that, because some of the things I want to do, and I think that's how I reached out to you in the first place, was like, where can you go do that? Because I'm going to jump out of a plane.
I'm going with you.
When I first started looking into jumping out of a plane, I've lost about 100 pounds. I was way too heavy.
Heck yeah.
To have someone on my back. It would be like having my little girl in like my backpack. You know what I mean? Like, all right, Mr. Adams, it's time to get out of the plane. And I'd be like, I need a sandwich. So I'm down the weight, and I think I can probably get away with it now, but I don't know what the weight limits are. I don't know if they make a triple F, full figured fella parachute.
They'd have to. There's got to be at least a large sized parachute that comes out.
This is for dropping Jeeps.
Or the elephants.
Yeah.
One or the other.
This should work. So that's when I reached out to you in the first place, was to see if I get some information along those lines. But the real reason is I have 4 daughters, and they're all little warrior goddesses. They're just ninjas in their own rights. Mm-hmm. And I'm the dad that wants my daughters to grow up to be powerful.
Absolutely.
Strong. And I see you living your life, enabling yourself. You're writing your own story. And I really admire that.
Thank you so much.
And so that's the big reason I wanted you on the show. Not to make it too weird, but that's what I do. My job on the show is to make it a little bit weird. Yeah. So let's talk about some of these things. Let's talk about this last weekend. You were in a hot air balloon.
Yeah, I sure was. It was my first time being in a hot air balloon. I did a really short one in the basket, where most people, when they experience a hot air balloon, they get into the basket.
Yeah.
I only rode up like 100 feet, nothing crazy. Just on a...
You're sitting on like a bar, like a piece of metal.
Yeah. And then I did it again. Yes. And it was just kind of like a hammock, I guess.
Yeah.
Where you just sit on this little bar. And I was strapped in. So I will say that.
Okay.
I put on like a climbing harness.
Some gear.
And strapped in. But that one was tethered to 400 feet. So I rode it up, which I saw so many people do that day. But most of my friends are base jumpers, which means, they jump off of cliffs and antennas and things like that. And so they're jumping from really low altitude.
400 feet?
Yeah, this one's at 400 feet. And so I haven't jumped that low. I'm kind of newer in the skydiving realm. I only have 135 jumps.
I've only done it 135 times.
No big deal.
Yeah. So I'm not quite at the base level yet, but so I just rode it up to ride it back down, get up to like the 400 feet. I was like, man, this is so cool. And then you see the balloon like kind of starting to collapse in on itself. Okay. And everybody else I saw ride up, they're jumping out at the 400 feet. So not a big deal, but you kind of see it like starting to fold in half. But I saw that on everybody. So I was like, okay, it's fine. And I'm up there and I'm sitting there and I'm watching it.
But they didn't write it down.
They didn't write it down. And I'm watching it like fold on itself. And I was like, this is normal. It happens to everybody. And then like the whole thing kind of like started going like this, like kind of like a jellyfish, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, like that is so not okay. Like this is how people die. So I was super nervous at that point. And, then we start coming down and they start pulling it a bit faster to help it kind of inflate a little bit more. I will say I had the smoothest landing of anybody the entire weekend. So that was pretty great.
That is great.
But my heart was racing for sure.
So is the flame and everything up above you still? Could you? No. They like fill it up with hot air.
Right before they let you go. Yeah. So they get it to a certain temperature before they let you go. And then they release it and it's tethered to like a truck with a pulley system. And so then the truck kind of backs up. And so you like slowly go up to the 400 feet and then you're up there for a minute and then they pull you back down.
Wow. That's that'd be kind of a helpless feeling. No controls to slow it down or speed it up.
Yep.
Wow.
Just there for the ride.
400 feet. It's a long ways. It doesn't sound.
I was just thinking, how many buildings is that?
It's enough to hurt.
It did sting a little bit on the way down.
Yeah, it's going to burn.
More than sting a little bit. Yeah.
Well, so hot air ballooning are up in the air. You are just starting to do base jumping. Now, I think base is an acronym, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Building, antenna. Oh, man, I'm forgetting what S and E are. But yes, it is an acronym. So in order to be like a true base jumper, you jump off of all of the different things.
All four of the different.
Oh, E is Earth.
Earth.
Which would be like a cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. You've jumped off of cliffs before. I've seen you do the swing.
I have done the rope swing. That's not a base jump. It's a bit different. It's kind of like a bungee jump, except on a bungee jump, you kind of get the recoil at the bottom. Whereas this one, it's a swing. And so you jump. Once you get to the bottom, it kind of just puts you into a swing motion. So you don't get that like recoil feeling. But yeah, not only have I done it, my daughter did it when she was 8. We've done it 3 times now. Yeah.
So here's the thing about the swing. I've got a question on.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do they get you back?
It's amazing. That's why.
Because it sounds like she wasn't screaming the entire time.
No, you swing down there. And like I've been on swings before and that tree sure seems closer than it was. You know what I mean? Like you're on a tree swing and you're like, that's the trunk right there. And then you're kind of like, you drift around. So I see you jumping. You're jumping off of the cliff right there. There's the big cliff. How do they get your butt back up onto the cliff, or do they lower you down?
It's a winch system.
Oh,
yeah. So if you think of the cliff like a U shape like this, right? So there's a rope coming across, and then you're tethered to the very center. So when you jump, you're hanging here, but then they have another rope that comes across here as a winch system. So then it starts to pull you back up.
Oh.
And once you get to like the last 10 feet or whatever, kind of like rappelling, but you'd walk back up the cliff and they just lift you up.
Huh.
Actually pretty easy. Yeah.
135. Okay. So skydives, we're talking about base jumping. How many times have you base jumped?
So I haven't base jumped. I haven't gotten into that realm yet because that's a whole nother beast. One of the most extreme sports you can do. And there's no backup systems. So if something goes wrong,
you're done.
Or very hurt, typically. Yeah. So there's a lot of training that goes into base jumping. And typically you don't start that until you're further in your skydiving career. Some people are a little more crazy and they start earlier, but.
And at what point do the squirrel suits come in?
That's after 200 skydives minimum before you can start using one of those.
Huh.
So it's called a wingsuit.
Wingsuit, sorry.
Yep. No, you're good.
I knew what you were talking about.
Oh, thanks.
Flying squirrels.
No squirreling.
Yeah. So let's talk about skydiving. You were just, sitting around the living room one day and you're like, it'd be cool. I jumped out of a plane. Or have you always wanted to do it? Tell us a story.
Absolutely not. No, it was my biggest fear. So back in 2015, I was dealing with some really major medical issues. And I was diagnosed with Graves' disease when I was 17. And then, fast forward a few years later, I was in what's called thyroid storm, which is extremely fatal. And the doctors had been fighting, and I was on 4 different heart medications, on a heart monitor. They were waiting for me to have a heart attack. My resting heart rate was 170.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And just my body was just not responding to any of the treatments. And so the doctor looked at me and he's like, look, we need to start planning. Like, you need to start saying your goodbyes. At the time, I only had 2 children. I was a single mom of 2 kids. And he was like, we need to start, getting things in order. And so as I was sitting there in this moment of, okay, well, I don't know when I'm going to die, but it could be any minute. I was like going through kind of my fear list. And the biggest thing on that list was skydiving for me, my biggest fear. And I was like, and the easiest thing for me to cross off, like, I'm not going to be able to just take a trip over to Europe and go do something crazy over there, right? Like, I was like, okay, that's something I can reasonably do within my vicinity. and knock off my list. Plus, if I'm going to die, I may as well die doing something really cool, like falling out of a plane, right? And so I went there with this mentality of it is my biggest fear. I figured I would get there and I'd get all harnessed up. I'd get in the plane, which I've flown a million times, so that wasn't a big deal for me. Then they're going to open the door and I'll be like, oh my God, like I'm not going to get out of this plane. But then I'm going to do it anyway because I paid for it. And then I'm going to be scared out of my mind the entire way down. And then I'm like, okay, cool. I can say I did it. And it was absolutely not that experience.
So what happened?
So my best friend went with me and we get in the plane and I was super excited. You know, I'm 21 and single and like flirting with the guys. I'm now harnessed up to them. The pilot had a great experience the whole flight up. Okay. They opened the door and it was like breathtakingly beautiful. And you see the world in this perspective that you've never seen before. Like you can see out of a plane window, but it's totally different when that door is open. There's nothing obstructing your views. You're feeling the winds. You're just like, oh my gosh. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And it was like overcoming with peace. And then you're in free fall and everything kind of goes so fast. So you don't really have time to be scared at that point. Like your brain can't process how high up you are anymore. So the people that are afraid of heights, like a lot of people go skydiving that are terrified of heights. Once you get past a certain point, like it doesn't seem real.
Equate.
Yeah. And then he pulled the parachute and you do what's called a flare, which is like basically how you brake for landing and stuff. And also how you check your parachute. And when you flare up in the air, it puts you into zero gravity moment. And not to mention, there's no motors, there's no sounds. It's just like pure
wind,
quiet, just, yeah. And the beauty of the earth. And I went for the first time in Moab, which it kind of feels like you're jumping over Mars, you know, like there's so many different colors and you're in this moment where nothing matters. Nothing else in life matters. Traumas don't matter. Responsibilities don't matter. Bills don't matter. Medical problems don't matter. Nothing else is there. You're just like fully engulfed in this moment. And it took me kind of a while to realize why I immediately was like, oh, I'm addicted to this. And it was because I had never gotten the opportunity to be so in the moment as what skydiving can bring you. And I've done like tons of other things now at this point in my life. And like I've gone scuba diving and some other extreme things as well. And I'm scuba certified, but it also gives you that moment of being in the moment, just not quite the same. And it doesn't last as long. Like it's not as pure. I don't really know how else to explain that, but I had felt this level of peace that I had never experienced.
Hyper now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
So then I had the surgery and I almost didn't make it out. And then I did. And so immediately I was like, oh, that's a dream of mine. So it wasn't until July of last year, July of 2025, that I finally went back and I got my skydiving license. But that was a 10-year long dream that I was like, I want to do that. Like I want to do that all day, every day, can never get enough. And now I know that every single jump gets better and better and better and better.
How is that possible?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like a lot of times, so I have a little bit of that feeling. I'm hyper present when I'm on my motorcycle. Like when I'm going at a really very probably unsafe speeds.
Yeah. But the only other thing is death that's on your mind.
Yeah, because you literally can't think of anything else. Yeah. Otherwise you're going to mess up.
However, that drug that you're talking about, the dopamine or whatever you want to say it is, like you never get it like you did that one time going down the freeway, that first time or that one day that was just perfect. You know what I mean? You're always kind of chasing the dragon or however they say that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Until you do a new trick, right?
Yeah.
So now imagine you're going those speeds and now you're going on a wheelie down the freeway. Like you're going to get that again. Yeah. Where?
A wheelie.
You're saying we can get the feeling again?
A wheelie. Yeah.
Right. You add in these other factors. And the thing about skydiving is there's an endless amount of not just modalities, right? But different moves, different body positions. Like I've jumped 135 times and I'm telling you, I'm such a baby in the sport where you guys are like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's so many. And I'm like, no, really, it's not. Like there's people that have jumped 13,000 times and are still learning new things.
Wow.
That's crazy. right? You can do the wingsuiting. There's different kinds of flying and there's perfecting and getting those things better. And then there's toys that you could take in the sky, like taking the flag, like we were talking about earlier, or a hula hoop, trying to dive through that. Like it's literally endless. And so if you get to a point where it's stagnant, that's when it kind of starts to wear off a little bit. But I just don't think that's even a possibility with skydiving.
Yeah. If it's stagnant, you're lacking imagination.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Yep. Totally.
Wow. That's a very cool perspective. I'm going to have to go jump out of a plane.
It's on the list, dude. We got to go do it.
I am addicted to the now. I'm a huge fan of here and now, being present. I spend most of my waking hours trying to be present because I know what a pure spot that is. When I'm here with you right now having this conversation, I'm not worried about that phone call or the deal falling apart or all the things, the conversation I had, because there's nothing I can do anything about.
Right.
It's all an illusion. In fact, what happened this morning, it was just my perspective of this morning. It could be totally different if you were with me, and that was my perspective, and it's wildly relative. And then in the future, there's nothing I can do about that. But right now, if I can be here, I find the most peace and fulfillment.
Absolutely.
So I spend a lot of time, and I know that I'm actually addicted. I know that I'm forward thinking addicted. So I spend time in anxiety.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I've spent so much of my life in like survival mode. So chaos is where I thrive when things are, like you have no idea what's going to happen next. That's kind of like my favorite place to be in.
Yeah.
Whereas consistency and doing like a daily routine, man, that's so not my style. A lot of people though think that, extreme sports or skydiving or riding a motorcycle that fast down the freeway, right? A lot of them think they're like, oh my gosh, you must be fearless. And that is so not true.
That's not how it works.
So not true. It is knowing that you have this fear and willing to face it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's courage. That's the definition of courage, having the fear, right?
Yeah.
And I have a tremendous respect for my motorcycle, like tremendous. And so I get that. I think I'm going to try it out. That sounds amazing. Moab, right?
Yep.
That's where you go.
It's a beautiful place. Yeah. I mean, there's so many places to go, but yeah, it is really incredible in Moab for sure.
Love that. So now you're jumping out of airplanes. You've done it now tandem, right? And then there was a span of 10 years.
Yeah.
Before you did it again. Why did you wait so long?
Not exactly. So in 2018, I went back and I did 2 more tandems, made some friends, it's called AFF when you start like your skydiving career to get your license. So your first 25 jumps, where you're going through the course to kind of get licensed. After 25 jumps, you have a license now, your A license. And so in 2018, I did another 2 tandems, one with my dad, one with a friend, not my dad as the person, but my dad had come with me and did his first skydive as well. Right. And then I went and I went to one of their boogies, which is like a big skydiving party, and made some friends there, did another tandem. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get my license. So I did my first 3 jumps, like did the course in office. Right. And then I did my first 3 jumps and I was like, this is amazing. And then life just happened. It was towards the end of the season. So like towards the end of October, it started getting really cold. It wasn't quite as fun to be so cold. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to come back next season. And then just so many things happened. And, being a single mom. And I had this mentality for a very long time of I can't afford that, or I don't have time for that, or I don't deserve to do that, or there's other things that my kids need more than me just like wanting this. And so that really restricted me in so many ways in life, and like having these experiences or traveling or this, that, and the other. And so then I went through years and it was like toxic relationship after toxic relationship. I never really kind of broke that cycle. And a little over about 2 years ago now, I had left my ex-husband and I decided to just completely start my life over. I had built a really amazing practice. I'm also a massage therapist. And so I had this great practice in Idaho and incredible clients and everything going good. Like the first time in my life, I had like a community of people and I had roots. And that's something that I had never really experienced before. And then there was so much going on. And I was like, okay, I need a fresh start. And so I made the decision to bring my kids here to Utah and just start over. I had no money, no savings, no career, no clients, like nothing. And I was like, I don't know how we're going to do it. I have no idea, but somehow we'll make it happen. So I took out some loans and credit cards, whatever, and made the move here, got established, started working my tail off, and slowly, started building things up again to where I wasn't struggling so much. And then it was springtime last year, moving into the summer months. I was like, you know what? I'm so good when I'm put in a situation where I kind of have no other choice but to do it. I do a really good job, right? Like that pressure. And so I was like, what if I just changed my mindset? Instead of having that mindset of, I can't afford it, I don't have the time, blah, 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 blah. What if I just said, I'm going to say yes to all the things that I want to do, and somehow we're going to figure it out. And so that's what I did. I changed it entirely last year, and it was the most magical year of my entire life. We had the most experiences. I made the most money, and like all of it, everything just like came together. And I look back and, we're doing taxes and stuff now. And I was like, how did I even do that? I have no idea. That's crazy. But somehow we made all of it happen. And it was literally just that simple switch of changing my mindset on, I'm going to stop using an excuse that like it's going to hold me back. I don't know how it's going to come together. Somehow it will. I'll figure it out. So.
That's amazing. That's a whole nother podcast.
Quite literally, yeah.
That is a whole nother, I could go down that rabbit hole. I love that. And Topher and I talk about this a lot. We talk about the saying yes to the opportunity, being available for the opportunity, raising your hand to the universe. Here I am, like I'm ready to go. And how do you indicate that? How do you step into that power? Because I feel like abundance and success doesn't happen all of a sudden. You become abundant by behaving abundant. You are successful because you start being successful. You start walking around and behaving like you're successful, and then the success shows up.
Yeah, it's also the thing of like where you put your thoughts and your effort. That's what you're going to notice more often, right? So some key things that I did when I moved here is I was like, okay, I have a fresh slate. I'm going to be so intentional about the people that I meet. I'm going to do everything I can to start networking with higher level people, or people that, have a similar mindset or have already gotten to where I want to go. Right. So I really started focusing on who I was meeting and what the conversations were looking like, and also being willing to state what I wanted. Here's something really crazy. Okay. This is a little bit off topic, but I had a client. I was like, you know what? Something else that I really want to do. I want to learn how to archery hunt. Hunted my whole life. Never been able to do it. I would love to do that.
Oh yeah, she archery hunts.
Oh, jeez.
I forgot about that.
I was like, I can't afford to just go get like a $3,000 setup. That's crazy, you know? And so I talked to my client and I was like, this is something I would love to do. And he was like, wait a minute. I think I know somebody that would love to trade you. He owns, an archery store here, blah, blah, blah. And just because I was willing to state it out loud. So I did full massage trade for an entire archery setup. So that way I could go. And then I got private training from him to learn how to shoot and everything else. And now I have that, right? So it's just like being so intentional about who I wanted to meet, knowing exactly what I wanted, and then figuring out who I needed to meet to get there.
Well, let's step back just one thing. How did you decide what it is you wanted?
I was like, this is a dream of mine. I've always wanted to learn how to do this.
So did you write it down? Did you put it on a...
I'm so bad about writing. I just vocal is where I thrive. And so talking to people. Here's another one. In this whole health journey. So I told you my health story back in 2015. I am healthier now than I've ever been in my entire life. And that has also been intentional, right? For the longest time, I just kind of trusted doctors and listened to everything they said, never did my own research. And now my mindset has completely changed. And so I started meeting people that had similar mindsets to me or were more on the regenerative health side. And I also started training jujitsu because so my daughter and I, we when we moved here, I was like, okay, it's just you and I. We were talking about going to Europe to go backpacking. I want to feel confident that I can keep us safe if I needed to. And so I was like, what's something that could do that? So we started doing some martial arts, and jujitsu just ended up being kind of the favorite of all of them that we tried. So we started training that for a while. And my jujitsu instructor, he used to be in the military and he would skydive. And so we had kind of gotten on this story. And one of the times he had jumped out of a plane and him and another guy had gotten tangled up. And so those are more static line. They just basically you jump out and immediately your parachute's deployed. And so they both fell to the ground. Those are only 800 feet jumps. And luckily there was so much snow that kind of like saved the impact, but they broke so many things. And in that process, the military paid for him to have this cellular regenerative therapy, okay, which is a stem cell treatment. And I was like, wait, what? Tell me about this. So he was like, after I had these huge injuries, 3 months later, I was at least 50% better. And within 6 months, I was 100% better than my 100% had ever been. And so I was like, oh my gosh, my mind is blown. I need to know more about this because like, I want to be better.
Yeah.
Like I want to feel better. I don't want to age. And so I immediately started researching, and I kid you not, within a week, I'm sitting in the sauna, which is where I love to do most of my networking. Okay. Sauna at the gym. And I just talk to everybody in there because everybody's in a vulnerable state. They're willing to open up some more. And it's a great way to pass time. And within a week, I met the owner of this stem cell company. He's the owner of RRG. And so we started talking. I was like, oh my gosh, like the universe just started providing these things, right? I knew what I was interested in. And I was like, I need to meet somebody that can like show me the ropes with this. This is crazy. Within a week, met the owner of the company. We talked for almost an hour in the sauna that day. And immediately I was like, I need to be part of this.
And what's his first name?
His name is Jeremy. Jeremy Hall. Yeah.
All right. It's amazing. Wow. Way to manifest.
Yeah.
What else are you going to manifest? What else is going to happen next? I'm excited to know.
Oh man. I this year I'm traveling. Oh, okay. So that's another one. I was like, 2026, I want to be able to travel. My best friend works for Alaskan Airlines. She had a spot open up to where she can add me to her account. So now I get free standby flights.
What?
I know. And so I was like, okay, well, here we are. So now I need like a nanny to help with my daughter because she does not get the free standby flights. And there's just like so many other adventures. So my daughter and I are planning a trip to Switzerland this year to go do the Via Ferratas. And so we kind of started exercising and everything together because I'm like, girl, you need to get in shape if you want to do these 15-mile hikes with me.
That's right. That's straight up and straight down.
Yeah. And then I definitely want to keep skydiving. It's been a beautiful, beautiful thing for sure.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk about the stem cells really quick. Again, a whole nother show. I've heard quite a bit about stem cell therapy. It's in vogue. You've got everybody from Joe Rogan. Everybody's talking about the recovery, stem cell recovery. How would I know if I were shopping? How would I know that I'm in a reputable place or these are a good product that they're using? Because I've heard you've got to be careful on what's getting put into your body.
You absolutely do. I can really geek out on science stuff. So if I start
Geek
saying
away.
something that's like over your head, you tell me, okay?
Use small words, okay?
Okay. So a big thing is a lot of people are traveling out of the country to like Mexico or Panama or whatever to get stem cell therapy. And that's been going on for quite a while because it wasn't legal in the States for a very long time. And the major difference that they have versus what the States have is now you have these mesenchymal stem cells, okay? And they use what's called an omnipotent stem cell, which means the stem cells, basically everything that we are, everything in our body, hair, skin, nails, organs, our bones, our ligaments, tendons, muscles, everything, it comes from a stem cell. And so these omnipotent stem cells can turn into literally any kind of cell, which is a beautiful thing. So they go in and basically they communicate through inflammatory markers. And so this cell is sitting here like, I'm inflamed. Something's wrong with me. The new stem cell goes in there and is like, okay, well, what is it that you need to be at 100% capacity to where you're fully functional? And so then it gives it a whole list of all these things. And the stem cell is like, oh yeah, I've got that here. Or if it's like, yeah, that's too much, it basically just kills it off and replaces it. So that's kind of how this therapy works. Okay. So these cells are now being repaired to like as if they were just born. So the omnipotent stem cells that are used outside of our country can turn into any cell. That's a beautiful thing. The problem with that is they can also turn into cancer cells and they have no way of tracking it. They also have no way of knowing where these products came from. They don't know if there's any diseases that are being passed around because they don't do any of that like regulatory stuff to make sure that it's fully safe. Is it incredible and amazing? Absolutely.
There's some
But
risk.
it also has the risk. Whereas in the States, specifically RRG, the company I work with, we use what's called multipotent stem cells. It can be almost any cell, but it cannot turn to cancer. So we've done over 100,000 treatments without any negative reactions or anything coming from those treatments.
It's really interesting because my understanding of stem cells, like you said, outside the country and inside of the country, right? The outside of the country, it was always a number. I've never heard anybody explain it quite like that. Like if you go to the one that they go to, I think it's Panama, is the big clinic for that. And they're like, I'm making this up because I don't actually know.
Right.
All right. But you can get 1 million stem cells in a treatment here, whereas the one in the United States, you're only getting 400. But you're saying that that's targeted on purpose.
The difference? Yeah. So I can't remember exactly what the numbers are, but say we're going with those numbers, right? You go outside of the country and they're like, oh, we can give you 10 million. They tested that when they first took the samples. Okay.
Oh.
After that, it now has to be cryo-frozen and preserved and then thawed and then administered. Whereas the company that I work with, we give you the post-thaw viability rate, which is, that's what matters. I don't care how many of them were alive when you first took them. They should all be alive. Fantastic. And then you're going to freeze them and then you're going to thaw them. Now, how many are alive? How many are you actually giving me? So that's a huge difference when you're looking for different companies and which products to go with is the post-thaw viability rate.
So is that a question you could ask? Like, what's your post-thaw viability rate here?
And most companies won't know because they don't test that.
Interesting.
Sounds like how they judge horsepower in different countries. It's at what point on the car that they're actually, is it at the flywheel or is it at the motor? It's a whole different set of numbers.
Yep.
I don't know about what either one of you were talking about.
Let's see. Can we find?
That's great. All right. What else would I want to know? So for post-thaw viability is a good question. What else would I want to know?
That's going to be hard. Problem is we can't make any kind of medical claims, right? So you can't say that this is proven to help. And also because big pharma is never going to be on board with
something that actually fixes something.
Right. Because then, it's repaired from a cellular level. They don't need to come back for more surgeries or more medication or more
treatment.
Exactly. So they lose out on a lot of money. And because of that, if big pharma's not behind it, it's nearly impossible to spend billions of dollars in research, right? So none of these companies are going to be able to provide you with evidence or research based. Now, do we have over 100,000 treatments of testimonials? Absolutely. But is that scientifically proven? You know what I mean? So a lot of people will get on this kick.
At what point does anecdotal data become actual data?
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
A big thing is going to be, though, the administration. So who is administering it and do they have the knowledge that they need to make sure they're giving you the proper treatment? That's going to be the best. Like there's no way to get one of these therapies and have it go wrong. But is there ways to have it be
more
even better? Yeah.
Interesting.
And so what kind of certifications or what am I looking for in that kind of a person?
Can I be really honest with you?
That's the only kind of honest I want.
Okay, so like an MP or a PA, MD, DO, they can all do the administration. What I look for is a doctor with integrity. I don't want to find a doctor that's going to be like, oh, you know what? I know this person has money, and so I'm going to upcharge them by this much because I can. Like I'm going to look for the doctor that is going to do the right thing no matter what. They're going to give me the treatments based on the right prices, and they're not going to add in all these other things just because they can. That's a huge one for me.
And that is a huge fear of mine. Anywhere I go, anywhere.
Yeah, with anything.
Yeah, mechanics, you name it. I'm always worried about that. Interesting. Well,
Wait,
I
I
love-
got another question for you.
No,
Yeah,
no,
please.
no questions.
No
from-
questions from the PA gallery? No. No. So one of the big things that people want to, there's a lot of rumors. Where do the stem cells come from?
Yeah, that's a really
Yeah.
good question. Okay. Yeah, I should have addressed this one. This didn't even come to mind. So in other countries, it's a huge rumor, and a lot of people don't like doing these therapies because of this. In other countries, they do use fetal components. So whether it was chosen or not chosen, they'll use an aborted fetus to extract all the stem cells. We absolutely do not do that here. So it only comes from the placenta, amniotic fluid, amniotic sac, and the umbilical cord from a donor. Not only that, but our donors go through a very, very extensive research. So they have to do not just a medical history screening, but also social history screening. So we kind of joke a lot because we live in Utah. So like the virgin Mormon moms are kind of the perfect candidates. You know what I mean? So it's first births only from the age of 18 to 25, I believe. You can never have smoked or done drugs or drank alcohol. So there's just like all of these components that we really, really screen for to make sure that we are getting the best of the best possible, just to make sure that it's not being transferred. Not only that, this company is very huge into making sure that everything we have, the whole supply that we have is prior to COVID. So none of it has been infected with any of the COVID or the vaccines. And then we have a 4-year supply of that currently. And we're putting in all of the things in place right now. So that way we can make sure moving forward, everything can be screened for that and make sure that that's also not being passed along. Yeah.
That's good news. That is good news because there's some things I don't want in my body. No, thank
Exactly.
you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, all right. So stem cells. I broke my leg this summer in June on my motorcycle. Would it help it helps everything?
It helps the regenerative process.
Okay.
So if there are cells that are damaged, it can help to repair them. Can I make a medical claim saying you're going to feel so much better? No.
You
Can
could
I be honest with you and say it's going to?
Yeah.
I mean, it very likely will. Yeah. So it helps the body to recover faster. So even if you did go have a surgery, it's still going to help you have a better, faster recovery from a surgery, right? It helps to break down scar tissue. It helps to repair muscles and ligaments and tendons and skin. You can put it on topically for like a lot of people are doing it in place of Botox. And like Botox, after 6 months or less, it wears off. You have to get it again. You have to re-inject that poison into your face to get the same effect. Whereas the regenerative cellular therapy, it's going in and repairing those cells. Once those cells are repaired, until they age another 50 years, they're not going to be at that same level again. Right?
How do the stem cells know? You said there's markers from inflammation, but let's say I'm going to start therapy, stem cell therapy, and you give me the shot, and I have an intention in my leg. I want to get that fixed. But it goes in, and I also have a torn rotator cuff, and that's my good shoulder now. Like all these different things. Is it just going everywhere? Will it diminish its effectiveness in the intended space, or how does that work?
So there's different ways to administer the treatment, and that's going to be based on your situation and what the doctor decides is best. But there's ways to go a direct injection. And so, for example, if you really want to focus on your knee first, we would do an injection right there into the tissue around the knee, or possibly if it's like a torn meniscus, they may even go underneath and go into the knee, right? So it's going to talk to the inflammatory markers that are surrounding it first. However, there's also ways to do treatment through, say, an IV. So if it were to be an IV, it's just going to go throughout the body and do kind of a general thing. So a lot of times we also have our mesenchymal stem cells, and then we have what's called exosomes. And the exosomes are basically, they have the stem cells, and now they're like, you know what, we want you to have a specific purpose. So instead of being able to go in and be a multipotent stem cell, we want you to only be able to work on the ligaments, tendons, and muscles. Okay. And so that's your focus. We're not going to work on the nerves. We're not going to work on the skin around it, like just the ligaments, tendons, and muscles. And so we have these like specific routes for them to go. So we also have things for like O&P shots for sexual function. We have brain and nerve function. And then a lot of people are doing the topical for like hair regeneration as well.
I saw you look at me. Don't look at me like that.
It's too late, bud.
Dang it.
Yeah. So it kind of just goes in. And so they have like a specific purpose. So if there's something very centered that you want it to be working on, but you kind of have a bunch of other things going on, that's where it would come in, where you'd probably do a very guided exosome. And then you can also combine that with the mesenchymal stem cells at the same time. But we'd put it more locally to that area.
And what's the affordability of this kind of a treatment? Is this something that's becoming more and more an option for people?
Yeah, especially when you think of how much people would be spending on a surgery instead. That is only going to last, 10, 15 years. And then they're going to have it again, like a knee replacement. Right?
Oh, yeah.
But also we're finding that so many more people are choosing to be out of pocket. They're not having insurances. And so now they're understanding kind of the different costs. And when you think about it, instead of having all these costs, you now have to pay for prescriptions and the surgeries and the therapies to go after and physical therapy and all the other things that come with it. You can do stem cell therapy. And now that's it. That's the end of the road. You're not paying for all of these things. We also have doctors that do like treatment plans, so they can break it up with no interest and do a payment plan. So yes, absolutely. Can it be affordable?
Interesting. And if I wanted to learn more about this, if there was a place that I could go to do some research, it would be the website that your company is going to be posted in the link here.
Yep.
In our comments.
It's rrhealth.clinic. Yep. Absolutely.
Take a look at that. And then I just type in the code Elora sent me.
No, you don't actually have to type in a code. Everything is actually directed specifically to me. So that is my website. And we also have it set up to where if you're interested in the treatments, there's ways to get information for that. Or if you're a doctor and you wanted to bring that into your practice and learn more about it, we have that as well. We have what's called a clinic success team, which no other company offers this. So when you come on board with us, a lot of people are like, okay, cool. I've got this new product. Sounds amazing. You can do tons and tons and tons of research. And then what? Okay. So we have this clinic success team that takes the doctors and their entire staff through compliance training. They teach them how to market it, how to talk about it, how to administer it. And then we also help with all of the marketing materials. We have text and email and social media campaigns. We create the brochure specific to their clinic, all of the things that you would need moving forward. So you're not just bringing in a product and then you're like, oh,
what do I do with this?
Yeah, we give you every single step you need to like make it successful to actually bring that business into your practice.
Wow, that's clever.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. Seems to me most operators, doctors, lawyers, attorneys, real estate agents, they're all good at their thing. But then I also need to market it. That's a whole that's another hat.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a wonderful resource. Good for you.
Yeah. And it's at no added cost either.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Well, I love that information. I would like to learn more about stem cells. I'm a man of a certain age and I don't want to get old either. That's not for the weak.
And my thing is like, I live such an active lifestyle now and I'm doing all of these different things, in skydiving, it's not easy on the body and hiking and everything else that I want to do. And I have to be able to maintain my body. And the fact that my body is now better than it's ever been.
Are you 75 years old?
I am not 75. I am 31.
Okay.
But I have put my body through the ringer for sure. I've had tons of surgeries, 8 or 9 surgeries now at this point. And so I need to be able to make sure that I can maintain this to be able to keep up with my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And I prefer to do that without.
Agreed. Surgery sucks.
Yeah. Why would anybody want to actually do that?
Well, excellent information on stem cells. If there was anything else that you could say, because you've been doing some research for a minute, what would be the advice you would give someone about just dipping their toes into that pool of medicine?
Well, the first thing is maybe don't blindly trust what everybody else says. Like figure out what's right for your body, because there may be some other regenerative options that are so much better for your body, right? Could be something so simple. Or actually even So I think probably one of the most common things that we're having issues with in the United States are thyroid disorders and diabetes.
Mm.
And the amount that we can help the body to change the way that it processes or the way that it is able to absorb sugars, even with stem cell therapy, is absolutely mind-boggling. So
wait, so you could actually go in, now that I'm putting this two and two together, you could give the pancreas itself a shot of stem cells and restart it on
every organ.
Really?
Mm-hmm. The founder of this company, or the guy that like really started, science guy that started this company, started it because he had so many allergies to foods that he almost couldn't eat. And that's how it started. And so he started giving himself treatments to where now he could eat whatever he wanted with no adverse side effects. So there's nothing out of possibilities in this realm. So I'd say like really, really kind of think outside the box when you're wondering if this could be a treatment for you.
So prostate issues, how about like hormonal issues? Because thyroid is right there in the hormonal space.
Absolutely.
Nerve damage.
Yep. We have exosomes specifically for nerves and brain.
Wow.
And I need some brain
Well,
ones.
yeah.
We have
So somebody said something about an oil change. Do you got anything like, we're just going to get all of it?
Yeah, pretty much. We have people that after they get through, they're like, okay, this, and this really bother me. Then they're like, I'm just going to do like, a quarterly IV to just really go through the body and have it do whatever it needs to, like whatever it is that needs the most help, it's going to work on first. So yeah, we definitely have people that do that are just like overall health.
Is that the proper term, or did Joe Rogan just come up with that one?
He must have come up with that one. Yeah.
Well, you know what I was talking about.
I sure did.
Well, good things, all good things. If they wanted to get a hold of you, they could get a hold of you through that link that we're going to post in there. They can have questions for you, because I know our audience is going to have questions.
Tons of questions.
Lots.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, so you're skydiving, you're jumping off of cliffs with a tether, you're going up in hot air balloons,
And they're collapsing on you.
collapsing, all of the things. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Actually, Rob, if you don't mind, let's go. I'm really curious about, because I have a little daughter myself.
Yeah.
And to hear kind of what I think is very endearing in listening to your story is your ability to overcome with a little one that's tagging right along. Maybe some advice on what you would have, because you're pushing past normal barriers.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to single mothers out there?
Single moms and anyone. Kind of the whole topic, this whole conversation is don't limit yourself, right? Like anything is possible. And we're taught that as a little kids. Some people hear that, when they're young from their parents, you can do anything you want to. You just have to want it bad enough, right? And I am finding more and more and more every day how true that is. Literally anything is possible if you're willing to work for it. Anything. And so don't limit yourself if there's something you want to do. I teach my kids a lot. I actually have 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I teach them that experiences are so much more valuable than material things. And so with kind of this whole mindset and mind frame, I've been teaching, especially my youngest, that it's okay to be afraid of something. That's when it's more impactful, is when you overcome that fear. You still do it because you're scared. But if you're scared, that probably means you should do it, And then that feeling of pride that you have within yourself that you overcame something so scary is huge. And not only that, but every single time you do that, it builds confidence. Every time. And I'm telling you, my 9-year-old daughter is one of the most confident kids I've ever met in my entire life. And I love that so much. And so where do I see us? I'm kind of going to tie both of your questions together. We have been fantasizing about going and living and doing the nomad life, living in a truck and a trailer, going and having all the experiences that life can give, and not really being attached to like too much materialism, taking the bare minimum and making life really simple and just going and doing as much as we possibly can. with the life that I live too, I talk with my daughter quite a bit about death. And that might seem a little bit morbid, but I think it's such a beautiful thing to be able to have that kind of a conversation. Because she's like, Mommy, what would I do if something happened to you? And I'm like, look, if something happens to me, you can undoubtedly know that we did everything we could to live the most we possibly had in those days. Because I'm going to die. So are you. So is everybody else. It's going to happen. So at least you can know that we took full advantage of the time that we did have whenever that day comes. I hope it's not for a really long time, but I have no way to guarantee that. So instead of being afraid that, I could die doing this or I could die doing that, we could die sleeping in bed. We could die driving our cars down the road. Man, that's such a huge one.
Yeah.
So I'd rather know that we are having these intense experiences and doing all of the things we could ever dream of instead of letting that fear of, but what if the worst happens?
Could rob your presence.
What if the best happens?
Yeah. What if?
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time with my girls doing the what if, because it's usually the what if negative, but the what if positive, like what if it worked out? What if all your dreams came true? What if we raised that money or did that thing? It's a fun exercise.
Absolutely. I kind of like to go down that. And so if they go down the what if negative, I'm like, okay, what's the worst that could happen? Tell me, what would it look like? Okay. What's the best that could happen? Is it worth it? And it almost always is. Yeah. Almost always.
And even the worst thing isn't as bad as the not being clear about it, right?
Exactly.
It's the unknown. It's an interesting thing. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
That's great. Well, that was a good question, Toph.
Well, I'm here, big guy.
There's one in a row.
One in a row. 2 more, and it's called a winning streak.
Yeah.
Woohoo! A turkey. That'd be a turkey.
That's right.
Turkey.
Toe for the turkey. Well, I love that. If you've traveled this, you've been on this planet, you're doing all these things. If you could go back in time, and I haven't asked this question in a long time, but if you could go back in time and talk to that girl that was on the verge of dying, what advice would you give her?
Ooh, tough one. I think I was so afraid of death back then that I did let a lot of fear control me. And then I went through this kind of period. After I went skydiving, I realized that wasn't my biggest fear. My biggest fear was dying a dumb death. Okay. Like I don't want to die in a car accident or
by bees.
Yeah.
Who wants to die by bees?
Like there's
bees. Did you just say bees?
Bees. I don't want to die by bees and I don't want to drown.
Right?
Those are my 2. I'm with you. No dumb deaths.
Yeah, it's good. I'm like, if I'm going to go out, it better be epic.
Yeah.
Exactly why you're questioning it right now. Bees?
Fell into a vat of hot dogs. Something terrible.
Or choked and died.
Yeah.
That'd be terrible,
No.
right? Or surgery, dying on the table. That became my biggest fear. And if I could go back and talk to her, man, I would tell her that it was only her that was restricting us from being able to live life. Having that mindset that we don't have the time or we don't have the money or we're not good enough or whatever. The only thing that was holding us back was myself. And had I changed this mindset years and years ago, where would I be now? I have no idea, but anything is possible if you're willing to work for it.
Man. Hear that, girls? Listen up. That's a good message.
Yes, it is.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and for telling your story and making it clear that anything is possible with the commitment to the work and the effort. I really appreciate that. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please like, share, and follow. Subscribe. Be a part of the tribe. We'd love to have you be a part of it. And if you know anyone that would be as interesting, maybe not possible as Elora, please send us their information because we are always looking for good people and good stories. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.